The conference room fell completely silent the moment the envelope slid across the polished oak table. Every pair of eyes remained fixed on the woman sitting near the end of the table, waiting for the tears, the pleading, the desperate promises that she would work harder, stay later, and do anything to keep her job. Instead, she calmly folded the letter without reading more than the first few lines, reached for her worn beige coat hanging on the back of her chair, slipped it over her shoulders, picked up her canvas bag, and smiled with a quiet dignity that no one in the room could understand. It was not the smile of someone who had lost everything. It was the smile of someone who had finally stopped losing herself. As she walked toward the door beneath the bright morning sunlight streaming through the glass walls, nobody realized they had just witnessed the beginning of a story they would never forget. Before we continue, if stories about courage, kindness, and second chances inspire you, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment saying "Ripple of Kindness" if you believe one act of kindness can change a life, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. Maris Caldwell had spent nearly 16 years building the reputation of one of the city's fastest-growing marketing companies. She arrived before sunrise, left after sunset, skipped birthdays, postponed vacations, and quietly sacrificed countless family moments because she believed loyalty would eventually be rewarded. Every campaign she touched became successful. Every struggling department she inherited became profitable. Younger employees looked up to her because she never claimed credit for their work and always stayed behind to help them improve. Yet while others climbed the corporate ladder through office politics and polished speeches, Maris remained in the background, convinced that consistent effort mattered more than recognition. She had grown up in a modest neighborhood where her widowed grandmother taught her that character was something nobody could take away, even when everything else disappeared. Those lessons became the foundation of her life, though she often wondered whether the modern world still valued them. The company itself had changed dramatically over the years. What once felt like a close family slowly transformed into a place driven only by numbers, appearances, and quarterly reports. New executives arrived carrying expensive briefcases and even more expensive egos. Long-time employees quietly disappeared one after another, replaced by younger workers willing to accept lower salaries and impossible expectations. Maris noticed the shift long before anyone else admitted it. Meetings became colder. Smiles became rehearsed. Loyalty became an outdated word. Still, she convinced herself that if she continued doing excellent work, integrity would eventually speak louder than politics. She was wrong. The final project that pushed everything over the edge had consumed nearly 6 exhausting months. Maris guided a small team through impossible deadlines while comforting coworkers worried about layoffs. She often stayed until midnight reviewing presentations so her team could go home to their families. She quietly corrected mistakes without embarrassing anyone and protected junior employees whenever executives looked for someone to blame. When the campaign finally launched, it exceeded every expectation. Sales surged, investors celebrated, and the company's leaders proudly accepted awards in front of cameras. Maris watched the ceremony from the back row, clapping sincerely as others accepted praise for work she had largely coordinated. She expected nothing in return except perhaps another chance to keep doing meaningful work. Instead, a restructuring announcement arrived the following Monday morning. The explanation sounded polished, professional, and carefully rehearsed. The company was moving in a new direction. Positions would be realigned. Difficult decisions had become necessary. Behind those carefully chosen words was one simple truth. Experienced employees cost too much. Maris' position had been eliminated, while someone nearly half her age would absorb her responsibilities under a different title. Everyone expected heartbreak. They expected negotiation. They expected tears. They expected her to remind management of 16 years of faithful service. But the strange peace inside her surprised even herself. Somewhere during those endless late nights, she had already begun grieving the company she once loved. What remained was merely a building filled with strangers wearing familiar faces. When she stepped outside into the warm daylight, the city looked different. Office workers hurried along crowded sidewalks carrying coffee cups and checking their phones, completely unaware that a chapter of someone's life had just ended. Maris stood quietly beneath a flowering tree, closed her eyes, and took the deepest breath she had taken in years. She realized she could not remember the last morning she had actually noticed birds singing above the traffic. She had spent so long chasing deadlines that she had forgotten life continued outside conference rooms. The weeks that followed were not easy. Savings disappeared faster than expected. Job applications produced polite rejection emails or complete silence. Companies praised her experience during interviews before explaining they wanted someone younger, more flexible, or less expensive. Bills continued arriving with perfect consistency regardless of disappointment. Some evenings she questioned whether leaving with dignity had been foolish. Pride did not pay rent. Self-respect did not buy groceries. Yet every time she imagined begging for the position she had lost, something deep inside reminded her that dignity was worth protecting. One bright afternoon, while volunteering at a neighborhood community center simply to stay active, Maris met an elderly woman named Celeste who organized free career workshops for unemployed adults. Celeste possessed the rare ability to make people feel seen within moments of meeting them. Instead of asking about Maris' former job title, she asked what kind of work made her heart feel alive. The question caught Maris completely off guard because nobody had asked it in decades. She struggled to answer at first, then slowly admitted she loved helping people discover confidence they never knew they possessed. Marketing had only been the tool. Encouraging others had always been the real purpose. Celeste invited Maris to mentor young adults searching for their first careers. At first she hesitated, convinced nobody would want advice from someone recently laid off. Yet as the sessions continued, something unexpected happened. Her experience became valuable in ways corporate success never allowed. She taught nervous graduates how to prepare for interviews, helped single parents write resumes, and encouraged discouraged workers who had almost given up. Every grateful smile restored a small piece of the confidence she believed she had lost forever. Word quietly spread throughout the community about the woman who genuinely cared. Local non-profit organizations invited her to conduct workshops. Small family businesses sought her guidance because they could not afford expensive consultants. Unlike her former company, these people thanked her sincerely, remembered her birthday, and appreciated every small effort. She earned less money initially but gained something far richer, a sense that her work truly mattered. Months later, one of the nonprofit directors recommended Maris to lead a citywide workforce development initiative focused on helping displaced workers rebuild their careers. The project united local businesses, educational institutions, and community leaders. Her calm leadership, practical wisdom, and genuine compassion transformed the program into an overwhelming success. Hundreds of people found employment, started businesses, or returned to school. Newspapers highlighted the remarkable results, but what touched Maris most were the handwritten letters from people whose lives had changed because someone finally believed in them. On a clear autumn morning, nearly a year after walking out of her former office, Maris attended a regional leadership conference where she had been invited to speak about resilience and purpose. Standing backstage, she smiled as sunlight poured through the large windows, reminding her of the morning she had walked away carrying only her coat and quiet determination. This time, she was not entering the room as an employee hoping to keep a job. She was entering as someone whose voice had become worth listening to. Among the audience sat several executives from her former company. Business had not gone well after replacing experienced employees with cheaper alternatives. Client relationships weakened. Staff turnover increased. The culture of fear eventually damaged everything they had tried to protect. Many recognized Maris immediately as she stepped onto the stage with calm confidence. She spoke without bitterness, explaining how losing security forced her to discover purpose, how failure often becomes the doorway to a more meaningful future, and how success means very little when it requires sacrificing your identity. Every sentence carried quiet truth rather than anger. By the time she finished, the audience rose in a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. After the event, one of the executives approached her with an unexpected proposal. The company wanted her back in a senior leadership position with a larger salary, generous benefits, and complete authority to rebuild the department. A year earlier she would have accepted without hesitation. Now she listened respectfully, thanked them sincerely for the offer, and declined with the same gentle smile she had worn while leaving the conference room months before. She explained that she had finally found work aligned with the person she had always wanted to become. Money could replace income, but it could never replace peace. As she walked outside into the warm afternoon sunshine, families laughed in the nearby park, children chased colorful kites across the grass, and volunteers prepared tables for another community career fair. Several former workshop participants greeted her with genuine excitement, proudly introducing her to spouses, children, and co-workers whose lives had also improved because one discouraged woman refused to surrender her kindness after losing her job. In that moment, Maris realized the greatest victories rarely happen inside boardrooms. They happen quietly, one heart at a time. Before we reach the end, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us what part of Maris' journey touched you the most, because your words may encourage someone else who is struggling today. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of someone you love, or gave you hope during a difficult season, please like this video, share it with friends and family, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need a little light when life feels darkest.